Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So in this video I'm going to be talking about bullet journaling, which is one of my favorite topics. And so specifically I'm going to be talking about how bullet journaling has helped me with positivity, gratitude, mindfulness, and self-care and goal setting. So bullet journaling is a really great habit to take up to help in a lot of different areas of your life. But in this video I'm going to be going into some of the things that I do in my bullet journal to help me with each of those categories that I mentioned before. So I'm going to be mentioning some specific spreads, some habits that bullet journaling has helped me get into, and some other things that you can do with your bullet journal to help you feel more positive and to help you reach your goals. So this video is going to be broken up into 5 different sections. I'm also going to be showing some spreads from my personal bullet journal and the ones that I've finished in the past. Here are my stack of bullet journals that I have right now. And I'll be showing those to kind of guide you along with what I'm talking about. So first off, we're going to talk about gratitude. So the biggest change that I found in my ability to practice gratitude is using a moments spread. I don't think that I made this up, but haven't really seen anybody else doing it, but I'm sure that I must have seen it somewhere. So I use my moment spread at the beginning of each month. So I have my calendar, and then I have my habit tracker, and then I have my moment spread. So to set up my moment spread, I basically just section off a line for each day of the month, and at the end of the day I'll sit down and think about what happened, and I'll write down the best thing that happened to me that day, even if it was really small. At the end of the day, even if it was a really bad day, I'm able to sit down and think of at least one good thing that happened. And at the end of the month I'm able to look over this spread that has 30 full awesome moments that happened to me. There's been a lot of a mental difference for me between trying to write like a full gratitude list in my separate journal. I have a different journal where I just like write journal entries. It's not the same thing. But I felt like with that, sometimes it feels like a chore, or sometimes there's like a lot of emotional effort involved. But just writing one nice thing in the moment spread in my bullet journal at the end of the day is way easier and just kind of is like automatic, and I don't have to really think about it or go through the effort of getting out my other journal and thinking really hard at the end of the day when I'm tired. So now we're going to talk about mindfulness. So my favorite thing that I've used to practice mindfulness in my bullet journal is my year in pixels spread. Year in pixels is a great spread. I've been doing it for as long as I can remember. I had it in my first bullet journal that I started in 2016, which was insanely long ago now. On one hand, I feel like it's almost cathartic to be able to, like, at the end of a day, whether it was good or bad, be able to admit honestly how it was to your journal, even if it is just filling in a little square with a color. It feels really good, even if it was just like a horrible day, to be able to pick up my blue marker and fill in the square and just admit to myself like, hey, it was a bad day, but that doesn't mean like every day has to be bad. Or even if it was like the best day ever, it's so nice to be able to sit down with my bullet journal at the end of the day and fill it in with my red marker and just be super happy and excited and grateful about how great the day was. At the same time, it's a really great tool to be able to gain some perspective at the end of the month or at the end of the year even. I wrote a journal entry in my other journal a few months ago about how we tend to not really see change in ourselves or our attitudes when we're too close up. I had gone back and read some of my journal entries from a few months ago, and I was just wildly impressed at how different I was, like how I spoke to or about myself, or the ratio of how often I would complain / be grateful. Then the year in pixels really helps to give yourself perspective. Like at the end of the year, you can look back and maybe it started out with a lot of like green yellow days, but it certainly might have ended with a lot of red ones, or even vice versa. And now we're going to talk about goal setting. So I feel like my biggest thing with setting goals in the bullet journal is being able to set SMART goals. And I feel like bullet journaling is a great habit for doing this, because every month, especially the way that I structure my bullet journal, which is pretty like a monthly thing, every month at the end of the month you're able to go back and be like, okay, what was working, what wasn't working, what goals did I accomplish, which ones did I not, and then be able to kind of change it for the next month. So I do a monthly habit tracker. At the beginning of every month I have my calendar and my habit tracker, and those are my things that I really go back to every month, and I always include those and the moment spread. So one of the changes that I found with my habit tracker that's been really helpful to think about is the tasks that I'm putting on it. I used to try and change them up every month, but I think that it didn't really work for me in order of like being more consistent. So I've picked things for the habit tracker that I know that I can actually truly feasibly get done in every day. So those are the goals that I put on my habit tracker, are things that I really want to be doing every day, and I know that I can. Like if it's a really good day, I know that I can do them. And even on a day where it might not be a great day, there's still things that I can be like, okay, I can do this in like 5 minutes and get it done and feel productive. So I feel like when you're setting up your habit tracker, it's really important to be honest with yourself and know what you can handle and not overwhelm yourself. So if you can handle having 10 things on your habit tracker, then do 10. But if you can't handle that many, you can just do 5. Like you can start slow and build up to it, or maybe you start really big and then you're like, oh my gosh, this is too many things, and then you can, you know, pare it back down. I feel like it's important to set yourself up for a series of habits that really challenge your current lifestyle but are still accessible and feasible. So I'm going to actually pull out my current bullet journal, and I've had the same set of habits for the past almost like probably full year. I've been doing the same ones every month. So mine are really simple. I'm just going to give you these examples so that if you think this works for you or you want to take any of these ideas, you can. So my first habit is get out of bed by 9 a.m. I feel like I tend to lay around in the morning, especially in bed, and look at my phone or read my book, and I'm really lazy about getting up in the morning, so I want to be out of bed by 9 a.m. My second thing is make my bed, you know, that's classic. And then my third one is clean room. So that one is supposed to be at the end of the day when I'm going to bed, having cleaned up all of my mess from the day, and not going to bed with a messy room. Fourth one is eating healthy meals. So eating healthy meals is a pretty relative one, depending on like what kind of phase in life I'm in. But I feel like just personally, like, did I feel good? Did I feel healthy? Did I eat fruits and vegetables that day? You know, like whatever healthy means to you, you can do that, because healthy is a very relative term. My fifth one is hydrate, which is just, did I drink enough water? And I don't really count like 8 glasses of water. I used to do that, but now it's just like if I ever like feel really thirsty during the day, that just tells you that you're not drinking enough water. My next one is basically a workout goal, and that one for me is very relative also, because most days I don't know, I just feel like I'm so busy in my life that I count doing yoga, doing an actual workout, or going on like a 20+ minute walk as being like an okay workout for the day. So just making sure that I am like moving my body in some way counts as this goal. So my 7th goal is doing a creative activity. I don't know if this really applies to everyone, but I obviously am like a very creative person, and I've noticed about myself that on days if I don't do like a little creative fun activity for me, then I feel significantly less happy. So sometimes I count this if I'm doing a creative school project, because I am in art school, but it can also mean like doing something for me. And sometimes I even count like if I did a really fun makeup look in the morning, but I didn't have time to like do anything creative the rest of the day, I still count that, because that is a creative outlet for me too. The next one is no spending. So that's not something that I can actually do every day, because there are some times where I'm like gonna go out with friends, or I'm gonna go to a restaurant or something like that, and that is a spending thing. But I don't count like things that you have to pay for, like groceries or gas or, you know, bills, stuff like that doesn't count. It's just no like frivolous spending. The next one is journaling. That's supposed to be journaling in my other journal, not bullet journaling, because I do this every day anyway. And the last one is reading, because I am trying to get back on the reading grind, which I am actually this year so far. I'm really into audiobooks right now. So those are all of the goals that I use on my habit tracker. And just a reminder, those are things that I want to do every day, and I actually check them off, like if I did them every day. But I also wanted to talk about, in terms of goal setting, the idea of having separate goals that are in addition to your habit tracker. In this section, there are kind of 3 separate kinds of goals that I like to include here. So the first one is non-tangible goals. So these are goals that you can't really check off, like one day you can like do it and be like, oh, I did it, check off. For example, one of the things that I did maybe like a year ago was to stop canceling plans, because I'm a big, unfortunately, I hate confessing this, I'm like a big flake, and I often cancel my plans because I'm antisocial and tired. I feel like that's something that I just wanted to write there in the goal spread so that I could just be thinking about it, because I look at that page all the time. And so at the end of the month, I couldn't be like, oh yeah, I did that. It's just like something that I want to keep in the front of my mind. So my second type of goal in this section is fun goals. So these are goals that might not really be helpful or like healthy for my lifestyle or like my mental health or anything, but they are something that I've like wanted to do for a while, but I just haven't gotten around to. For example, like getting a fun haircut or like making a new recipe. Those are kind of goals that just push me to do something new or fun. So my third one is a large scale goal. So these are goals that like you probably couldn't sit down one day and complete it, but it's also like something that maybe if you think about doing it, it might overwhelm you. It's like, oh my gosh, that's way too big of a project for me to tackle. So like, for example, I've done like add a new listing to my Etsy shop or like deep clean my closet or something like that. And so those are kind of goals that I want to be able to refer back to, like maybe later in the month if I have a free afternoon, I can check back on that list and be like, oh right, I wanted to clean up my closet, so I'll like do the first step that day, and then it will like help me to start the project, but I don't necessarily have to finish it like in that moment. And the next thing we're going to talk about is positivity. The first thing that I love about bullet journaling for positivity is having a place to write affirmations. So actually one of my favorite things to write in my other journal is lists of affirmations. I often, like if I'm gonna do a specific thing, I'll write a list of affirmations for that thing, like for the beginning of a class or like for a job interview or going on a trip or something like that. I like to write lists of affirmations in there. When I'm illustrating a page in my bullet journal and I know I want to include some sort of text or some sort of positive quote or something like that, I often get to refer back to the ones that I've written in my other journal and write them in my bullet journal. Sometimes I like to even pull out quotes or affirmations that other people have written also. It really helps to have those in my bullet journal, which is a book that I flip through every day because I'm constantly filling stuff out in it. I'm adding new spreads. So it's really helpful to have a lot of those affirmations in a place that I am looking at every day. I don't often like go back through my other journal and reread things in there, but I do look at my bullet journals all the time to refer back and to look at old things that I've made, and that's like a really great place to have them because you're looking at it all the time. And I also would say that taking the time to illustrate it nicely in the bullet journal just gives you time to kind of meditate on it. The second thing about positivity is kind of rewarding yourself for checking things off. This is like, I feel like there are some people that will understand this. You know, when you write a to-do list and at the end of the day you can actually physically check things off or cross them off your to-do list, and it's like the most satisfying thing ever and you're just really proud of yourself. It really helps to put perspective on all the things that you accomplish during the day, but it can also help you kind of measure out when you need or deserve to have a break. And the third thing about positivity is collecting great memories. So the difference between tracking things that you want to do and tracking things that you've already done. For example, something that I have made a change in my bullet journal is my movies/book spreads. So I used to write down a list of movies that I wanted to see, like new movies that were coming out or like a movie that a friend suggested to me, and I would write them down and then I would check them off once I'd watched them. But and I would do the same thing for books, like if I had a book that I wanted to read. But I often got really overwhelmed looking at those spreads, especially the books one, because books takes a longer time to read than movies take to watch, and I would just feel like, oh my gosh, I'm not reading like fast enough, or I really wanted to read all these books and I'm not having time to do it. So I've actually switched it, and now in my bullet journal I'm keeping tracks of all the movies that I have watched and all of the books that I have read that year. So it's like, it seems like a small thing, but switching to the ones that you have done instead of the ones that you have not yet done, it's like a fun way to look at those lists and also be able to look back on these great memories that you've made with the various media. And the last thing we're going to talk about is self-care. Something that I love about bullet journaling is really just allowing yourself the space in time to be creative. When I need to take a break, sometimes I feel like sitting down to look at my phone or even like reading or watching a movie is a waste of time. It's not. And if you like doing those things as a break, all power to you. I wish that I could be like that, but sometimes I feel like sitting down and just doing something like that is a waste of time. But I sometimes I want to have a break activity that is still engaging and can like exercise my brain in a way. Doing something creative in my bullet journal helps me to feel like I'm still doing something productive by exercising my creative muscles while still being easy enough, like not too strenuous on my brain to really enjoy. Especially because I established the visual theme of my bullet journal at the beginning of the month, that I already have the parameters in which I'm working aesthetically because of the theme that I established, and also the size. I'm just doing a page in the bullet journal that it's really easy to just sit back, do a little spread, enjoy it, kind of zone out while I'm doing it, and then that's my little break. I feel like other artists might relate to this. So a common problem that I used to face was the contradiction between wanting to take a moment to be creative as like a break or an outlet, especially from other work, like other creative work, but not feeling like I had a good place to do that, because my sketchbook often felt like it was too informal or like unfinished, so I didn't get the satisfaction of like actually finishing something when I went to do that. But like trying to set up like a real project on a piece of paper or on the computer or something felt like too big of a project, that like I didn't want to have to go through all that effort, like since it was supposed to be my break. I feel like doing the bullet journal has given me a place to bring my creativity and just set aside like one page to doodle when I want to. It's also really helpful and can feel therapeutic, because since I've already established the theme for the month, like a lot of the heavy lifting is already done, and I can just feel free to draw and have a good time. That was all of my tips for positivity with bullet journaling. If you have any that you've learned over your time bullet journaling, definitely comment them so we can all learn from each other. And if you want to see more bullet journaling videos, I will link my playlist of journaling videos. My most recent bullet journaling video was actually the tour of my 2021 bullet journal, which was a really fun video, and you got to see all of these really cool pages in here, so I'll link that one as well. And if you want to see a lot more bullet journaling content, I post a lot about bullet journaling on my Instagram, which is at graciecreates. On there I post pictures of every monthly spread and some other illustrations that I do in there, and it's just really fun. Thanks for watching.